You're listening to Camo and Crayons, the podcast that talks about military life, family life, and everything in between.
Welcome to Camo and Crayons. We are so excited today to welcome Staff Sergeant Hobaugh to our podcast. We are going to talk to him about recruiting and all of the things that come with that. Welcome to our podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, ma'am. Thank you for having me on here. I'm pretty excited to be here and looking forward to getting into it.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited to have you. Can you just give us a little bit of your background before we get too deep into this so the readers and everybody can get to know who you are?
Absolutely. So again, my name is Staff Sergeant Hobaugh, and I'm actually currently recruiting from PCS Somerset, and it's a little town here in Kentucky, and it's actually about 45 minutes up the road from where I grew up. And so I was kind of a local, I guess you could say. I grew up out here on a farm. We had Black Angus cattle, baled hay, greenhouses, the whole 9 yards. So I was just a farm kid growing up in a little tiny Adair County. It's a little town called Columbia. And, my father, he was prior service. He was 23 years in the Navy. I had a pretty long history of military service throughout my family. And I actually ended up not joining fresh out of high school like a lot of people do. I actually was 22 years old when I enlisted. And I had went to school for a little bit, and then I started to become a welder because my brothers were welders too, and I just needed something to get me going. And one day I was just kind of done of surviving. I was done just trying to grind my way up, and I just left work mid-lunch, and I told my brother, I was like, hey, I'm going to go join the Marine Corps now. And I just got up and left, and I came to the office that I'm actually sitting at now, and there's a bald guy there, and his name was Staff Sergeant Tunnel. And he put me into the Marine Corps and turned everything around for me. And that's why I'm sitting here today.
That's awesome. I love that. When we were actually talking on the phone, you gave me some really good insight into your career. But I actually, from one of our community moms, got such good reviews about you, not just as a staff sergeant and a recruiter, but as a person and as a mentor. And during our conversation that we had on the phone the other day, we were talking about how you, as a recruiter, have all of these kids' lives in the palms of your hands. You control so much. You're the first person that they meet in the military. You have so much control over their career. And one of the things we were talking about is how you can shape that for them. What is some advice that you give people that are coming into seeing you, young men and young women that are wanting to join the military, and as a recruiter that really likes to help mentor them, the ones that are going to recruiters that just want to get the sale, how do you encourage them to advocate for themselves?
So when it comes to recruiting for me, again, it comes from a different kind of place. I'm in it to help people, and I do want to mentor them, and I want to make sure they have the best chance they possibly can. And so there's not one rule that catches everybody, right? It's different based on the person, their life, what they've done, the challenges that they've already faced. And so coming into it, I would always say prior, just like everything else, it used to be where you couldn't really get information unless you came and talked to a recruiter, right? But now we have social media, we have, Marines.com. There's a lot of stuff that you can use to get on to really look into what you're getting into. And you can always cross-reference everything that the recruiter says or that somebody else says. And honestly, it makes the relationship better when, you're as a recruiter or as a Marine, you're sitting there talking to these young men and women, and you say, hey, what I want you to do is actually take your own self-interest first and look up the stuff that I'm telling you. Do a little bit of research. Tell me what you want to do with your life, and I will tell you how I can help you. And, it doesn't hurt to go ask, any of the other recruiters in the local area or anything of that nature. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. One of the things that we hear a lot is that, the recruiters get these kids into these offices, they're talking to them, and this is across all branches, not just the Marines, honestly. And then they kind of just don't pay attention to them, or they don't get along very well. Maybe, Johnny and Staff Sergeant, whoever, don't really gel too much. And I know as a mom, I kind of tell them, go find a new recruiter. What's your take on that?
So, again, I am the Marine Corps recruiter, so maybe I'm a little bit more biased. But when it comes to recruiting like that, if you have people that are coming in and that you're not just getting along with for whatever reason, I've never had it personally happen to me yet, but I'm sure, I mean, people are different, right? It happens. So what I would say is if you have a recruiter that is probably not in your best interest, right? Maybe just chasing something else, I'm not really sure. You can go somewhere else. You can go talk to somebody else. There's more than just one of us. Now, for the Marine Corps recruiters, we're few and far between, of course, but there is another office, maybe an hour away, 2 hours away. But if you're sincere about this and you really want to do that, you can go talk to someone else. Or, again, just look up the information yourself. Find it out. Find out the questions. And it kind of sucks that there is recruiters that are, that way sometimes, but there is things that you can do to mitigate that. So I would always say, look them up online. Again, we're all there. All the recruiting offices, addresses, and phone numbers, and people who are even in those buildings are there. You can call them and you can talk to them. And it never hurts to even go ask, a different branch recruiter if they know another Marine Corps recruiter or another Air Force recruiter or another Army recruiter, because we all know each other. So there is some way, somehow you can contact somebody else.
I have a question for you. One of the biggest challenges that we hear from the police and from every branch is arriving to boot camp. They were unprepared physically. What things would you suggest them to do before they go into boot camp?
So that's actually a pretty big item for me that we have. So our delayed entry program for the Marine Corps, right? It's built that for the police, for the young men and women that want to serve their country, right? And we try our hardest to get them prepared, to get them ready physically, mentally, and just the knowledge that they're going to need in boot camp to do well. So what I say to all my guys and all my gals out here that when we're PTing, when we're working out, or just when they're helping around the office or when they're here, is that you should be striving to be 1% better each day. That's all it takes. 1% better each day. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you go on a walk, you go on a run. You don't have to increase. You don't have to be the physical specimen just on top of an Olympian athlete the next day. It doesn't work like that for anybody. So I always challenge them, this 1% better. I want you to know next PT what you've done to better yourself today, what you've done yesterday to make sure that you've bettered yourself. But also, I also challenge them to get in contact with their other police, with their brothers and sisters that are in the pool program with them, that will someday be Marines with them, and encourage them to do better. Call your buddy that's down the road that that you're going to see him Thursday. Ask him what he's doing. Go to the gym, or even go over Marine Corps knowledge, just something to help, right? And I know sometimes, someone will come in here and they will join, and you don't get that much time with them in the pool. Sometimes they're graduates, they're, on their way out, and the next day or, a few weeks later, they're going to boot camp. And unfortunately, it is something that is going to be hard in boot camp, but no one is truly ever going to be fully physically ready for it. But that's what boot camp's designed to do. It's not meant to be easy. It's going to be hard, and they want to challenge and push you. So you can never be fully prepared, but you can be ready for the challenge, if that makes sense. So again, it's up to them. The recruiter can't really do everything for them. It's mainly on them, because the 2 days a week that we get for PT aren't enough. And we're thin on the ground, and there's not enough of us to ensure that you're doing what you need to be doing.
Do you suggest to them to stop like smoking, like drinking, caffeine, things like that? Do you ever encourage that? Because like my son said, he wished he would have known, because he was a vapor and a smoker. He was like, I wish I would have known that, because that was even worse than caffeine.
So I can't really beat up the caffeine horse too much, because I need that to stay alive. But when they are getting ready to leave and to head out, I do encourage them to, put down the vape for a while, quit smoking, because it's just going to hinder them. And granted, when you go to Marine Corps boot camp, there's no way you're getting any of that anyways. So no matter what, you're quitting cold turkey. Sorry to say, it's just happening. So you can make it easier on yourself, and you can prepare a little bit beforehand, or you can just suck it up. and just deal with it. But I do tell them to quit, but I don't harp on it as much as I probably should have.
Yeah.
I'll piggyback off of Sherry's initial question about physical fitness before boot camp and things like that. When I went to my recruiter, I was the kid that was like, I don't want to know anything extra. I don't care. I just want to go to boot camp. Sign me up. Give me a date. Call it a good day. Did all the PT. That was never an issue. All of the things, but like the knowledge side of things, I wish I would have asked more questions. Like, I love to tell this story. These ladies heard it last week. They thought it was hilarious. I'm a natural blonde. I showed up to boot camp and our drill instructors were telling us it's time to go outside and drill. And I looked at my rack mate and I was like, drill? Like, go build something? Like, what do you mean drill? Like, what, am I going to use power tools? Like, I had no clue because I didn't ask any of the questions. But it's one thing that, like, I told my recruiter that story and he was like, I probably could have, like, forced some knowledge on you a bit so you were better prepared. Because I was like, see ya. I'll see you in 13 weeks. And bye. What's one thing that you guys do knowledge-wise? Because, there's so much knowledge packed into boot camp. There's so much Marine Corps knowledge that comes. You get your freaking books and it's this whole thing. What's one thing as recruiters that you guys do to help, like, set a base, like, knowledge point for these kids leaving?
Well, usually, so I'm guilty of it. Every PT, we're supposed to hold a little hip pocket class.
Mm-hmm.
So just a small class to go over, Marine Corps history, Marine Corps knowledge, or as we call them, ditties, right? Yeah. So a lot of the times we're going over rank structure, close order drill, and things like that. So here at RSS Danville, we do really try to get them prepared for that. Again, we more focus on the physical and the mental aspect of it because to us, that's the most important thing because they will learn what they need to learn at boot camp for sure. But we do try to help them, learn the rank structure, E1 in the Marine Corps is, and that's, the same ditties at boot camp. We have little pieces of paper. If I had one handy, I would actually show you guys. And it pretty much has a detailed description of like all the big ones that they're going to need to remember: officer ranks, enlisted ranks, warrant officers, and things like that.
Cool. Love that.
So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does, for sure. I always encourage kids they should ask more questions. We have a bunch of poolies that come into our group and ask questions and things like that. And the biggest thing I tell them is like, please just ask questions for the love of God, because it's something I didn't do. And I mean, obviously I figured it out. Here I am 10 years later after a career and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, just ask the questions. The recruiters are not going to bite. They're literally there to help you get to the point of success that you're supposed to be to leave. So thank you. I appreciate that.
I have another question. Do you guys prepare them mentally? Because we get a lot of parents that come in and they're like, oh my God, they're mentally like they're exhausted. They're mentally like they're checked out. They don't want to be here. They didn't realize it was going to be this hard and difficult. Is there things that you guys do prepare them to let them know those kind of things can happen and about their mental health?
Yeah, so I talk about it to my guys. I let them know that I can get them ready physically, and I try to challenge them mentally when they're out there. So if we're doing a really hard workout, I force them to keep going. I force them to get over it and keep moving forward because that does make you mentally resilient, right? It does make you mentally stronger. And just like if we're on a long run and, someone says they can't do it, well, I just make it a point to show them that they actually can, and it's just them giving up on themselves. But, for Marine Corps boot camp, that's going to happen. The first 2 weeks are rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's made to be that way. They want to break you down. They want it to suck. And that's how they build you back up because they show you what you're truly capable of. So, from the letters that I've seen from the guys that send me letters and I send them back, of course, like they always talk about the first couple weeks or the first few weeks really, really wearing them down. And it does. And that's just by design. But at the end of it, when they come back, they don't even think about that anymore. In fact, when they come back and they tell you about boot camp, all the stories, all the great times they've had, all the friends they made, all the stuff they've overcame in their life during that time, they sound like they had a blast. And those first 2 weeks are forgotten about. It's not even a thing. We all say, oh, boot camp sucks, but the longer you're in the Marine Corps and the longer you go through your career, it doesn't seem bad at all. You're like, oh, I'd go back and do it again because it was fun. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just the mindset that changes, but I do tell them that, and I do tell them that, they need to be ready for it, but it's going to suck regardless.
Mm-hmm. I know my son says embrace the suck.
Yep. Perfect. Yeah.
I kind of want to piggyback off of that. When you have a young man or young woman come into your office and sit down with you and ask about the Marine Corps, and then they say to you, my mom or my dad, or both my mom and dad are not into this, don't want me joining. How do you help that young poolee or future recruit talk to their parents? And what is some good things, some good points that they can use to talk to their parents to help them understand why this is a good idea for them?
So I know a lot of the times it does happen a lot, right? Especially the mothers. The
Oh,
moms are
yeah.
always 110% against it, no matter what, right? And so usually the dads are on board more or less, but I always try to get them in the office because the main thing that people have the hardest time with, in my experience, especially the parents, is that they really don't know anything about the military. They know nothing about it. They don't know what boot camp is. They don't know about our schools. They don't know about the education system, the benefits, the retirement. They don't know anything. And they just assume that it's like a video game or that we're just going to hand their daughter or their son a rifle and stick them in a trench somewhere. And it just doesn't work like that. Don't get me wrong. Like if they want to join the infantry, well, hey, that's a hard talk that you're going to have. And that's going to be real hard to convince mom that, that's a cool job to get. So the first thing we do, or that I do, is we get them on the phone. We just call them and have a natural conversation, say, hey, this is who I am. I'm Staff Sergeant Hobaugh. And, Billy wants to be a Marine. He wants to earn the title. He wants to face the challenge, and he wants to be the best possible version of himself. And all I would ask him to do is just come down to the office, or me even go to their house so they're more comfortable, and actually have a real conversation about what the military is, what the Marine Corps is, and why it would benefit them, and why it would be so great for their son or daughter to do. Once you sit down with them and you get face to face and you really talk to them about everything that it truly is, almost all of that goes away. And I will say that, moms and parents are always going to worry. And so I tell them, no matter what I say, no matter what I can do, you're always going to worry, right? It's just how it is. My mom worries about me driving down the road 10 minutes, and I am getting ready to be 31 years old.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that one's, I don't know how to win that one.
It never goes away. It never goes away. So, all right. So now you've gone from a kid just looking to join the military or the Marines, and now you have that big contract in front of them. One of the things that we've found is that, one, parents don't understand the contract, and obviously the kids don't understand what they have signed. So my son's recruiter, his Marine recruiter, went through every section with us, and we were sitting on both sides of him, his dad and I. So we understood it and he understood it. But how do you help some of those kids that, one, don't want their parents there or don't have parents to help them understand what they're signing? Because Sherry and I find a lot of these parents will come to us and be like, I don't understand that. I wasn't told that. Well, you probably honestly didn't read it, so you don't understand it. So as a recruiter, how do you help them understand everything that they're signing, and that these parents know this isn't summer camp, it's an actual job, it's a career? Because that's a problem. They're like, they don't understand that it's a legal binding contract that they're signing.
So again, the best way is just to be straight up forward with them and get them in the office. So I always say the Marine Corps is it's very family friendly. It's oriented towards, Marines' overall success, and that includes their families, and that if their son or daughter is joining, they're a part of this too. All right. They get to come in, they get to learn, they can show up to PTs if they want. But I explain it to them pretty much usually I say kid terms or mom and dad terms, right? So you have to kind of adjust the way you speak, essentially. So it's a lot easier to explain things to mom and dad of more like legal, this, that, right? Like, this is your Civil Service Relief Act. This is the rights he's entitled to, 6% interest rate or a 6% debt cap. And that part's easier to explain to the mom and dad, right? But now when you have to explain the Civil Service Relief Act to, a 17-year-old lady or a 17-year-old guy, like, you don't know anything about that, right? And so you have to kind of put it in terms of what it's going to do for their future. Like say, hey, this is what this is. This is what you can do for it right now. I know you probably have no clue what I'm telling you, but keep this in mind that you're going to need this eventually. And I try to explain it to them in the simplest ways possible. Like, if you go out and you want to buy a house and you're married, this is something you could use, the VA home loan, this, that. And so it's kind of hard. I know that's a very hard question to answer. It's
It
just I try
is.
to explain it in the best detail that I possibly can to them, and I ask to make sure that they're understanding it. And I know a lot of them probably tell me yes and have no clue what I'm talking about. But I do make it clear that, this is like the paperwork that you need to sign in order to be a Marine. Like, this is what this is. This is the medical release. And I try to explain it in what I'm going to be doing with the paperwork and what the paperwork can do for them. Because that way they seem to pay attention more.
Because we get a lot of parents that come back and say, well, he signed, I thought, for this, but then when he got there, his job changed. And, then when you try to explain to them, it's not what you signed, it's what the military needs at that time. And they're like, but that's not what we were told. And so do you tell them that things like that can happen?
So in the Marine Corps, actually, we bind them to the job. So that means when they come in to sign the contract, right, or the SOU as we usually call it, for the job that they want, say, they have a list of jobs that they can pick from that they qualify for, and they pick one of those jobs, and they say, okay, you're going to get logistics. And he's like, awesome, that's the one I wanted. So we actually have the contract right there. CJ Logistics tells them what they're going to be doing in that field, and that is what they sign. And that is going to be their job. And there is disqualification factors for some of the things, like in the infantry, for instance. If you're not physically capable of upholding the infantry physical standard, then you will get reclassed. But we explain that to them beforehand. But for jobs like logistics, admin, stuff like that, as long as you don't fail the schoolhouses that you're going to, you will have that career field. That will be your MOS. And so that's how we mitigate all that, where we say, hey, like, you are picking your job, you are signing for this job in particular, and this is your contract for this job. And the only way that they can do something else is if they mess that up. If they fail the physical fitness test, if they fail out of their schoolhouse for that job field, then unfortunately, that's really not on us, that's on them. So it's we kind of try to make it as simple and streamlined as possible to make sure these people are getting what they want to do. That way they can be successful.
I think to kind of piggyback off of that, one of the things that some of the parents that come to us have issues with, like, fully understanding is when they sign the contract, they're signing like a logistics 04XX, they're signing a 03XX, like that. And then when they get put into the subdivisions of those MOSs, that's when the parents are like, this isn't what we were told, this isn't what we're doing. Like, why my kid signed up for artillery, but now he's doing HIMARS? Like, and you're like, that's the same thing, but not what you were told. Like, you're not going to be told about every MOS underneath that one thing. Because, I mean, I signed up for logistics and I ended up counting ammunition for 10 years. So, like, whatever works. It's just a different branch of logistics. Did I understand that at the time? No. Did my parents? No, they didn't really care because I was 19, 20, saying goodbye. So I think one thing is, like, is there anything that you guys tell the parents within, like, that realm of, you're signing this contract, there's these jobs that could land underneath said, like, branch of that MOS, I think is kind of like one thing that our parents have some trouble with.
Yes, and I kind of agree with that. So a lot of people don't realize that when you sign up for the MOS or the field of job, that there is subcategories to that, right? So if you go into infantry, for instance, because it's the easiest thing, there's 0311, 0331, 0352, 0350. Oh, there's not a 51 anymore. Those jobs. So you'd sign in, you would go in as 03XX, and you are a standard infantryman. And then when you go through ITB and all that, that is when you will get subclassed on what infantry skill job you're going to have. And so, yeah, we explain that to him. We say, hey, this is the field he is going in. These are the traits and, things that he's going to be learning while he's there. These are the skills he's going to have. And we try to explain that to him to the best of our ability and let them know, like, he's going into this job field and these are going to be his jobs that he could be doing in this area. They're all related to logistics. They're all related to the infantry, but there are different subcategories for each thing. And so I know some of them probably don't understand what we're saying, but we do try to explain that to them.
That makes
So in
sense.
layman terms, it would be like, I'm a high school teacher, but I teach math, and then this is a subject like English, and then so it's just kind of, you're a teacher, but then there's different categories, right? You have an English teacher, a math teacher, a history teacher. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like when they're like, "Oh, you're gonna be an ammunition technician in MCT," and I was like, "What the heck is that? Nobody told me about this shit. Like, I don't know what I'm doing." Okay, sounds good. And then here I am 10 years later. But yes, that makes more sense now. Thank you.
Awesome.
If you could go back and tell your younger self one thing that you have learned, what would you tell them, and would you give that advice to other young Marines?
So one of the biggest things, if I could go back in that time before, I'd be joining the Marine Corps, I would probably have told myself to do it a lot earlier than what I did, right? At 18, out of high school, go in, right? Just bite the bullet and go. And, you'll learn a lot more. I would have had more time in service. But one of the biggest things that I could leave for a lot of the younger guys coming in, a lot of the younger Marines, is that they got to realize that not every day is going to be a good day, right? Not every day is going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's just not going to happen that way. You're going to have some bad days. The Marine Corps can be pretty rough sometimes. But all the times, some of those days that you're going to have are going to be one of the fondest memories somehow, some way, right? Some of the worst places that you're going to go, some of the things that's going to happen to you, you're going to be like, man, that was crazy. And you're going to laugh about it. And those are the types of things that build you up. Those are what makes you stronger. The good days are fun and fine, but a lot of the times you forget about those. And it's the ones that were really stuck out to you that sucked, where you actually had to bite down, learn something, dig deep, and challenge yourself. And so I just want to remind them that, all those things are building you up to who you are, and they're going to make you a better man and a better woman later on. And just keep your head up, keep moving forward, and you will do better, and it will change as long as you want it to.
Awesome. If you could look back on your start in your career, what is the one thing that you think you have learned that is the most valuable lesson for you that you've taken through not just your military career, but also your personal life?
One of the biggest things that I have that I would say is, I still kind of struggle with it, is slow down. Slow down, right? There's always urgency. There's always a rush. There's always something happening. Slow down. Take your time. Do it right the first time. And again, it's something that I still struggle with. Sometimes I do get into a rush and I just want everything done right now, and I'm all over the place, right? And it's really about the little things. That's what, makes the big picture happen. So I always say slow down. That is probably one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten. No matter what, tomorrow's going to come. It's going to be here. Take your time, do it right, and learn something.
Absolutely.
Yep. We actually did a podcast last week about mentorship. And one of the conversations that we had on the phone together when we were talking about you joining us as a guest was you had your own mentor. You talked about him. He was your recruiter, and how your relationship was and how he inspired you, and he's still in the military. Can you share a little bit about how he inspired you to be a recruiter?
Yeah, I can. So I kind of mentioned him at the actually started this. His name was, at the time, was Staff Sergeant Tunnel. And again, bald guy, taller than me, great guy. And so pretty much what he told me is that, when you're a junior Marine and, you're a Lance Corporal, you're a PFC, you're not going up to talk to staff sergeants. You're not going to go talk to Gunny. You're not going to go talk to First Sergeant, right? There's senior guys in there that have been through it, that know a thing or two about life and just about the Marine Corps in general. And so he said, call me. I'm going to be here. I'm the one that put you in, I'm the one that guided you here down this path. I'm the one that made you go to boot camp and become a Marine. He goes, so, give me a call, talk to me, let me know what's going on. And I tell my guys the same thing, because you really do build a very, personal connection to the men and women that come in here. They kind of turn into your kids, essentially, which is a weird way to say it, but it's true. Like, you take care of them, you're making sure they're good, that they're eating, that they're going places, that they're doing the right things at all times, and you really do build a solid connection with them. And so I tell them the same thing that Staff Sergeant Tunnel told me at the time. And he said, just give me a call, ask me the question. Maybe I can guide you, or I know someone who can, or someone in the unit that can help you. And, he's always kind of kept me on my toes. If I was feeling kind of down about something, if I had a bad day and he reached out to me or I reached out to him, he would pep me up. He's, again, not every day's a bad day. Tomorrow's going to be better. Keep your head up. Keep moving forward. And he wasn't my only mentor in the Marine Corps. I've had multiple. I've had people that were retired that helped me out, and my staff sergeants, and sometimes even the lower guys, the lance corporals and the PFCs will teach you something. As long as you slow down, listen, and listen to what they have to say, you might learn something.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to do the same thing to all the young men and women that come in here, and I really do want the best for them.
Awesome. Okay, so when my son actually went into the Marines, when he came back from boot camp, his Staff Sergeant Hiltner was his Marine recruiter. He had all of his brand new Marines sign a bat. What do you do as a Staff Sergeant when your Marines come back as Marines? Do you celebrate them in any way? Do you have them sign something? What do you guys do in that office to celebrate brand new Marines?
Well, I have them bring their photo in. I have them sign the back of it, write something on the back of it so I can keep it for later so I remember them, and usually we go out, everyone was here with them will congratulate them, and I'll have them run PTs with me and stuff. And really, I don't do anything, I guess, spectacular. Maybe I should.
No,
Maybe
but
I
it's
should
just
start
a
doing
nice little
something.
memory, right? It's a memory for you,
Yeah.
and it's something that they can talk about years down the road. All right, before we wrap it up, I want to ask you, what one piece of advice do you have for young men and women wanting to join the military, hopefully the Marines, right? But joining the military, what's that one piece of advice that you would advise them as they're thinking about it?
A lot of things that stop people from joining, right? They always have some type of excuse. My dog's sick. I have a job here. I like to work in the factory. My mom doesn't want me to. There's an excuse for everything, right? And you'll hear every single one of them, right? What it really comes down to is that they're scared. That people are scared. It's the unknown thing. It's the Marine Corps. Like, the only thing they hear about is like, oh, this is the most elite warfighting organization in the world. This is the greatest army in the world, the best navy in the world, the greatest air force in the world. We go all around the world and we fight and we do all these crazy things. And that's what they know. That's what they hear, right? And it really shakes them up. It gets on their nerves. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go overseas and get hurt, or this is gonna happen, or this is gonna happen. And they just dwell on that one thing. Everyone has an excuse, right? Quit being scared. If you ever want to grow and you ever want to do something great and challenge yourself to a better future, you have to be brave. You have to be courageous. Take that next step. You are going to be nervous. You are going to be scared, right? If you're not nervous and you're not scared when you come in here and you agree with me to be a United States Marine and join me and wear the same cloth that I have on, you're insane. You're insane. There's nobody in their right mind that's not going to be scared. I remember when I first did it, I walked out of this office door, I was like, oh, hell, what did I just do? Right? The whole drive home, all the way back to there, I was like, oh my God, like I'm screwed. And the next day I woke up and I thought about everything that we talked about and how great it actually was on paper, and that everything that I seen and the way he talked to me and who I wanted to be. And, I was still nervous. I was still scared, but it didn't matter because I was going to build a future for myself. I was going to help other people. I was going to be the best I could possibly be, and I was going to be a United States Marine. And that's all there was to it. Quit being scared. It's time to act. The time is now, and time does not stop for anybody. And before too long, you're going to be one of the people that's going to say, man, I wish I would have done something. I wish I would have joined. I wish I would have done this. I hear it all day long, all the time. Don't let that be you. Be courageous. Do something with your life. Doesn't have to be a waste.
Wow. That was
So
good.
That was good.
I want to go back
was-
to boot camp.
I know.
Go on another 10. That was good.
That was good. That was awesome. That was really powerful. Thank you for adding that in there.
I think it's really cool that you have come full circle. Like you walked into that door being a recruit, and now you're in there and you're pulling in other people. I think that is just really cool because not a lot of people can sit there and say, I've went full circle and I'm back where I started.
Yeah, it is a pretty surreal feeling sometimes. I do think about it. Sometimes. Like, I don't know how I got here, but here I am, and I'm doing the same thing that, that Staff Sergeant did and all the Marines before me. And sometimes it's pretty daunting, especially, in the hometown recruiting, as we call it. because you know this area, you know the people here, and you know what's here. And
Hmm.
for our little part of Kentucky where we're at, there's nothing here. There's no great prospects for these young men and women out here. It's a great place to retire, and maybe if you just want to be on a farm, but unless you want to work in a factory or whatever, like you're never getting out of here and you're never leaving. And it's one of the hardest things to do is tell these kids some cold, hard truths. It's like, hey, like, you know, sorry about your luck, man, but you live in Adair County. Like, that sucks. Like, unless you want to go work at the McDonald's or, the Amazon in Campbellsville or, Bruce's in Russell Springs for the rest of your life, like, this is it, buddy. Like, you're done. Or
And
otherwise, you can come with me and I can show you something great.
That's powerful.
that's the way my son looked at it. We are in the middle of Iowa that has, nothing. And he's like, look I've already been here and here and here. And my friends, when I come back and visit, I've been in 3 years, they're still in their parents' basement doing the same thing, not being productive. He's like, I already have this much money in my savings. I've already bought 2 cars. He's like, I'm living life.
Mhm.
I always tell them it's going to put you 10 years ahead. Like
Mhm.
you were going to go from 18 years old, and then next thing you're have houses, you have cars, you have all this medical stuff taken care of, and you're going to take it all for granted. And you're going to come home one day, and you're going to see, you're one of your best friends in high school, and he's going to be working at Burger King, and you're going to be like, hey man, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, same old, same old. It never changes. The people are the same. The jobs are the same. The teachers are the same. Everything is just going to be status quo as normal. And the only way to break that cycle is to leave. And that's one of the hardest things to do here is get up and leave.
Mhm.
It's impossible to get out on your own. It's just not going to happen, especially in today's age. Like, it's for a young man and young woman, you have to just be born lucky at this point.
Mhm.
Hard work and dedication will only get you so far here.
Yep.
You have to have a plan.
Did you want to become a recruiter? And then did you want to recruit from home, or did you want to go somewhere else?
So that's a good question. It's a kind of a weird story. So I originally volunteered for MSG, Marine Security Guard, and had some stuff happen. I wasn't able to go MSG, and so the Marine Corps did me a solid. They're like, hey, you already volunteered. Instead of histing you, we're just going to kind of volunteer you. Essentially, almost every sense of the word, they voluntold me. But they actually gave me a choice of station. They gave me a bonus to come out here and to be a recruiter, so it was great. And then they gave me a choice of where I wanted to go. And it just so happened that, Somerset, where I was recruited from, had an opening. And so I was like, my wife's from here too, like my family's here. It'd be good to be home for a little while and I could really make a difference in someone's lives here because the area we grew up in here in Kentucky, Dare County, Russell Springs, Somerset, Pulaski, all these, Wayne County, Albany, Kentucky, we're a very small town, very rural. It's almost like they're stuck in like the 70s.
Mhm.
And we're all kind of drawn back here. Home is always going to be home for us. And it's just kind of I guess it's in the dirt here. It's in our blood. Like, one day I might even come back here and retire. But I felt like I could do some good. And I could come out here and I could change lives. And I could really make these kids want to do something. Make these young men and women into something and give them a chance. Just give them a chance to succeed, to get out of here and see the world and travel. So it was kind of kind of told me to be out here, but also I volunteered to be out here. And again, it's hard, but it's very rewarding on most things, especially when you can change someone's life.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad I came home.
That's good. That's
Thank
good.
you for answering
I
that.
love that. I love that. Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciated talking to you, getting to know you, and I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you'll come join us again too, because I think there's so many things that we could talk about and really get deeper into recruiting and understanding how it all works. But I thank you for your service, and thank you so much for joining us.
No
Thank
problem,
you.
ladies. It was a pleasure to be on here. I'm really glad I got to answer your questions. I really appreciate the time. And if you ever want me back on here, you just got to let me know.
Oh, we will.
Absolutely. Oh, we will. Yeah.
Okay.
We
Have a good
really
day, ladies.
appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you for your
Yep.
service. Have a
Have a
great
good day.
day.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We had a great episode with Staff Sergeant and talking about the Marine recruiting. Next week, you're going to be really excited because we actually have Staff Sergeant Butters from the Army coming to talk about recruiting also, and he is super cool to talk to. So don't forget to like, follow, and share. And when you subscribe, you'll get to hear our episodes every single week. You can find me on TikTok if you do Laurie, Laurie, Trahan, Trahan. And then if you go on to Facebook, you can find me at Laurie Trahan Lafrene. And I'm going to spell that for you because it's a crazy one. L-A, F as in Frank, R-E, N as in Nancy, A-Y-E. When you come to my TikTok, that is where you're going to find me, Sherry, and Annika live every Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go in there and we have conversations. We have staff sergeants in there. We have sergeants majors in there. We have a master gunnery sergeant that comes in and visits us from all branches and just answers your questions and gives us ideas on what we want to do over here on the podcast too. So don't forget to come join us.
You can find me on TikTok too at Army Sherry at UA20. And I also have a link tree in there that you can find a lot of Army information.
Listen up, maggots! You have one mission and one mission only. Hit that like button right now, and you will subscribe to Camo and Crayons. That is a direct order, Private. No excuses, no hesitation. Move it, move it, move it! Subscribe now or drop and give me 20. Camo and Crayons, fall in! Hooah!
Camo and Crayons was recorded and produced by SWA Creative Media.